Hola, mi nombre es Vaughn Bradley. Soy gringo con barba grande y mal español. I'm originally from the US, but I've been living in Boquete for about 8 or 9 months now. I found Boquete through the videos that I'm making now on YouTube for the Panama Relocation Tour. I've been traveling around the world for the past 10 years, nomadic, living all over the world, all over Asia, Europe, South America, and I was kind of wanting to find something a little more permanent, so I started looking into long-term destinations, and that's how I found Jackie Lane. During the pandemic, I was locked down in Colombia, like lockdown. And I watched every single one of the videos from Jackie's tour, and I really got a good idea and a feel about how Panama might be. So I looked more into it, and on paper, Panama seemed perfect. It's very safe, they use the dollar, the weather's amazing. It's in the same time zone, it's close to the US. If I have to go back for something, it's great. So then I really started looking into it, and here I am. I made it. Panama is my first country in Central America, but I've lived in South America for probably about 3 or 4 years. 2 years in Colombia, 2 years in Peru, and then Brazil, Uruguay, all over. They're great places. I had a good time. I really enjoy, Lima, Peru is beautiful, best food in the world, but it's just not somewhere I would see myself living long term. It's very busy, hustling, bustling, which is not quite the same as Boquete. But you can find that here. If you want to go to Panama City or some of the bigger tourist spots, you can definitely get the hustle and bustle if that's your thing. But in Colombia, great, love Colombia. Always have a special place in my heart, but it's not somewhere I would want to see myself living long term. It's just, I always felt pretty safe there, but just in general, for a long-term destination, I don't feel like they're quite as safe as Panama. Honestly, I think Panama is safer than anywhere I've been. Boquete, I'm sure you could go venture around the wrong neighborhood at the wrong time, but you could do that anywhere in the world. But as far as Boquete, this place is one of the safe, I've been all over the world, and this is one of the safest I've ever felt. When I was in Colombia, right before the pandemic, I went to Cartagena. I was actually going to take a ship from Cartagena back to America because I didn't know exactly what was going to happen with the pandemic. But then the pandemic hit and I got locked down. I was stuck in my apartment, literally couldn't leave for about 6 months. It was a wild experience. But after that, I explored a lot of Cartagena. I stayed there for about 1.5 years before I made my way up here. And it's a beautiful place. It's definitely a different vibe, but way different. People in Cartagena, especially, every 5 seconds somebody says, "Hey, my friend," they want to sell you something. They want, you don't get that here. You get that in a lot of places, but Cartagena was unique in that aspect. But it was such a beautiful place. The people were great. The food was good. It's really reasonably priced as well. But again, it's just not somewhere I can see myself staying long term. The old city's walled in because they used to have naval battles and stuff. It's a beautiful, it's a historic place. During my time here in Boquete, I'd say I lean a little more towards hanging out with the expats because there's such a great community here. Like the expats are a little different than some of the other places I've been. They're very open. It's hard to meet a stranger in Boquete. You'll talk, you'll strike up conversations with people in the street or in the restaurant. You're sitting beside them. That's not like I said, I've been around the world, and that's not something that you find everywhere. But here, it seems like the expat community is very welcoming, and that makes it nice. So I lean towards hanging out with more expats than I do, but the Panamanians are great too. I got some Panamanian friends. They're very warm and welcome. It's a very, very pleasant city to be in because the people are very friendly, open, welcome, warm, and the expats too. So I don't know, you could come here and have either one. You could have an expat group with really good people, and you hang out and you do things and you go places. And there's things to volunteer. A lot of people volunteer work. There's a lot of church type activities here that the expats seem to get involved with. It seems really nice. Or you could come here and hang out with the Panamanians and have a completely different lifestyle. That's what I like about it, is the diversity. You could go either way here. You could probably do that in a lot of places in Panama, but so far I've spent most of my time in Boquete. I do want to explore some more, but I got such a good routine here and everything's flowing well, so I'm staying here for a little bit. And also, let's get into things I don't like about Panama. The number one thing is they have this dumb law where when you get to Panama, they'll give you 6 months to stay here, which is great, good on them, but you can only drive for 90 days. And I bought a car as soon as I got here, so I don't know if you know why they made that silly law, but leave a comment down under this video and let me know, because I still haven't figured it out. It makes no sense to me. So that's a big bummer, especially, I live in Boquete, so I can't risk driving out of there after my 90 days is up, so I can't really explore anywhere. Now I did reset my time and I have another 6 months, so I don't really have any excuses now. I should get out there and check. I want to check out Bocas, Coronado maybe, Panama City, I would just visit there, but it wouldn't be for something I'd want to do long term. You know, I don't like city life too much. It's fun when you're traveling, and you know, when I travel, I usually would go to big cities because it's a lot easier to live a month or two in a capital city than, you know, some farm somewhere out in the middle of Albania, which I lived in, where I don't speak the language and things like that. So I spend a lot of time in cities, but I definitely prefer the more laid back pace of Boquete. And you know, Boquete can also be a busy place. If you want to go out on the weekend, you can find a crowd. If you want to go out on a holiday, you can definitely find a crowd. But you know, everybody from the city and everybody wants to come to Boquete for their holidays. So you can have a little of both, you know. You go out on the week to slow times and no much traffic, not much people, or you go out to the busy times and you can have both. Again, diversity, just like it's very biodiverse. I remember they kept hearing about Boquete having 120 microbiomes or something. I didn't even know what that was, but now that I'm here, I know. Because I mean, it can be raining and all of a sudden you're in the sun and then you're flying a kite in the wind, and this is all within a matter of blocks almost. So it's pretty unique, but the weather all around it is just great. Even during the rainy season, you know, it's warm and sunny during the mornings usually, and in the afternoons you might get a shower. I've been here for, what, 8-9 months, and there was only maybe 2 or 3 times I can remember that it rained all day, you know, and then once it dries up, you know, the sun's back out. So when I heard about rainy season and stuff like that, it was a little bit of a deterrent. I'm picturing something like Seattle, Washington, or Gotham City in the Batman movies where it's always gloomy and rainy, but it just wasn't the case. You know, it's sunny and you get what you need in the morning, you go out, and then in the afternoon it rains a little bit, you watch Netflix, take a nap, drink some tea, you do whatever you want. It's been... the weather here is amazing. It's phenomenal. Now, it does get hotter, like when you go to David, which I used to go to a lot when I first got here to buy some things. But it can definitely, if you want heat, you can find it in Panama. If you want cool, you can find it in Panama. Because of the pandemic, I didn't get to take the tour with Jackie Lane, but I did sign up for the online guide and I bought that. And you know, the value there is worth it. You know, for me, I haven't used a ton of it other than the Facebook group. You know, you get on there and if you have a question, you ask and people chime in, and plus people, you know, have updates about things. There's a lot of information in that. Well, if you talk about the guide in general, there's a ton of information, you know, good lawyers, good mechanics. And these are things that, you know, if you meet people that didn't have the guide or whatever, some people got screwed over by, you know, lawyers and stuff like this. So it's good to have that, you know, to a good recommendation that you can feel good about. But for me, the Facebook group, you know, it's been... a wealth of knowledge. You know, I use it a lot if I have a question, and plus I see what other people are saying. I get ideas, you know, I see pictures of beaches and I was like, oh man, I want to go there one day, or people, food, stuff like that. It's really, to me, it's definitely worth it. You know, the tour would be great if you can get on there for sure, because that's a way to have a guided way to see all these cities that I want to see on my own, but I'm a seasoned traveler, so seeing the stuff on my own, probably, you know, I'll be okay. It might be easier for me. I look at it as more of an adventure, but I think for a lot of people, it'd be better to have that structure to go along with the people and everything's planned out for you. So yeah, I think the Jackie Lane, I'm glad she made the videos and she came down here, or else I wouldn't be here. You know, I randomly stumbled upon those YouTube videos and, you know, here I am and I'm in the process of getting my residency. Hopefully within 2 or 3 months, you know, I'll have my temporary card, and then after that, I'll have my residency here, and I'm definitely looking to set up roots in Panama. Whether it's Boquete or not, I'm not sure, although I'm definitely leaning towards it because there's just so much to like about this place. You know, it's, again, the weather's amazing. It's super safe. Best coffee in the world, literally. They've won a couple of competitions worldwide for their coffee. I like that I can talk to the strangers and they talk back. It reminds me of, you know, a time before the smartphones. And I'm from a small rural town, you know, in America. So, you know, we would strike up a conversation in the grocery line or the restaurant. And that's a lost art these days. But in Boquete, it's almost like it's coming back. And I really appreciate that. It's the little things. Another thing, a way that I judge some cities and the people would be like the traffic, like trying to walk in front of a car or get a car out. And in most of these cities, it's hustle and bustle. You know, you got to risk your life to cross the street. But here, people will stop, flash, wave you on. You know, if you want to back out, everybody stops. I think that's just another sign of the people here. It's a different pace. It's a different kind of feel in town and vibe here. So as far as pickleball in Boquete, that was when I was locked down in Cartagena. I discovered, watching the videos, I discovered Bill Brick's video on pickleball. And then, you know, so, oh, that looks interesting. When I get there, I might check it out. And I think the first week I was here, I I asked on the Facebook Jackie Lane page, and somebody told me, and I went and had my first pickleball match, and been playing pretty much every day since. It's a very welcoming, nice community. You know, so a lot of the players are a little bit older, but with pickleball, it doesn't really matter. You know, you could be older and still be competitive, or you can be younger and be competitive. So when we have some good games, pickleball's, we're hoping to really expand on that because we have a lot of people that come to the gyms, and you know, sometimes it's overflowing. So stay tuned. Hopefully we'll have something real nice coming up for Boquete with pickleball. But I absolutely recommend anybody, even if you don't come to Boquete, you know, play some pickleball. It's great. It's such a fun sport. We have a great time. With pickleball recently, you know, we've been paying $1 every time we play because, you know, for equipment, we've actually purchased some new nets, and some of the places we play, you know, we end up paying like a small monthly fee. So just $1 when you play usually is what we started doing. We just started doing that recently because we started getting charged for the venues, and like I said, we had to purchase some new equipment. But you know, for $1, you come play for 3 hours because we play every day. We play for 3 hours. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday we play in the afternoon, 12 to 3, and Tuesday and Thursday those are the more beginner-oriented classes. Bill, who's actually an amazing certified instructor, he instructs on those days too, and they play from 9 a.m. to 12. So, you know, it's so you can come any day and check it out. We'd be more than happy to see you. As far as rental, you know, because I'm renting when I come here or when I stay here, I found, I just looked everywhere. I found this place that I'm in now on Airbnb, and I reached out and, you know, negotiated things. Everything I've rented has been fully furnished and all the utilities included. So I couldn't tell you what the gas or the, actually I do use the gas, but I couldn't tell you what the electricity or water is, but it's very cheap here. You know, you can hear that on the other videos. I've heard people say anywhere from $20 to maybe $40 if you're running an air conditioner, which you don't have to have in Boquete. But the rental market here is a little tough because of the expats. You know, I think the prices have gone up, and then some people will really just try to gouge you. That's another thing where Jackie Lane comes in handy. She has a few, I think she might have a Facebook group on there that has rentals in Boquete, because if you look on some of the more well-known, like maybe an Airbnb, I forget what the other one is popular these days, but if you look on there, you might see the same place listed 7 times from 7 different people with 8 different prices. That math doesn't add up, but that's okay. But, because, you know, sometimes I guess they're not property managers, but whoever finds the apartment, you know, they'll charge you their fee on top of whatever you're paying for rent, and you can really get taken. It's best if you could come here and maybe stay. What I did is I came here and I stayed in a hotel for the first 6 days so I could actually look at the properties, because you might see something online and it looks amazing, and then, you know, you get there and the neighbor has 10 barking dogs, or the house smells funny. You just never know. So if you could come here, you know, find a place to stay short term and then find your long-term solution, I think that's absolutely the best advice I could give. I've been lucky. I've stayed 3 different places since I've been here. Love this one. I love them all though, you know. I've been really lucky. Where I'm at now, this is my favorite place I've been so far. I'm the downstairs apartment. You know, the upstairs is a really lovely couple, and they live on an organic farm. There's a lot of those here too. That's another thing about Boquete. There's so many organic farms. You go to the Tuesday market, you can buy a lot of organic goods. There's no shortage of good, healthy food here. That's for sure. And the restaurants are amazing too. I'll talk about that later. But yeah, the place I'm at now is, you know, it's beautiful. Hopefully we'll get some footage, you know, and you can see. But I got fresh eggs down there. In the morning, I walk down and get a couple eggs for the breakfast. And all the fruits and vegetables that I want, really. There's lemon tree. I mean, everything. And you can find that here. You know, it's not hard to find that kind of this kind of lifestyle here, and just those kind of perks. So I've been very fortunate with this place. I'm fortunate with all the places. I don't want to slander my other places, because I really like them too, you know. But yeah, if you look around, and that's another thing about being here, is that's where you find the good deals and the better rentals, the better prices and everything. And that way, again, you can come check it out yourself and see if it's somewhere that you want to stay or commit to long term. So definitely try to get your boots on the ground if you're planning on staying in Boquete long term, or even, you know, short long term, and look at the places that you're interested in, not just pictures on the internet.
Welcome to the garden. The garden is just an applause to the Panamanian culture because they're great entrepreneurs. If they have an excellent product, what they do is they bust out the side of their home and they put tables on their garden grounds right next to their neighbor's fence yard, and they usually provide an outside bathroom and sink area. And so this is all created to applaud them. Here we have a painting of the beautiful Baru landscape.
As far as, looking for a long-term place to stay after living all over the world, I lived all over Asia for a few years. The Philippines is one of my favorite places in the world by far. Friendliest, happiest people. They all speak English. Great. But it's just not somewhere that I could see myself living long-term. It's just a little too different. Although it's great. I love Asia for visiting, 2 months here, 3 months here, 6 months is where I spent in some of the places. But it just wasn't somewhere that I wanted to live long-term. It's better for visiting for me. And as far as long-term in Europe was great, and it would definitely be an option for me if it weren't for the harsh winters. I don't like cold winters. I travel to chase summer. I've been an endless summer for about the last 10 years. I did stay in Ukraine. I had a great time in the Ukraine. Let me get in. Anyway, but I had a great time in Ukraine until winter came. But I was like, man, I'm having such a good time. I'm just gonna buy a jacket, some mittens. It's like, I'm staying here for winter. And then the first cold day hit, and I was like, I'm leaving. And I ordered me a ticket and flew south a little bit. And yeah, if it weren't for the winters, for me, for other people who like winter or winter sports or whatever, there's good destinations out there. But for me, winter pretty much knocks Europe out of it. South America, I covered, a little bit of Peru, and Brazil was really nice. But again, it's just for visiting, and it's not something I wanted to do full term. Panama really checks those boxes for me. I haven't been anywhere else in Central America. Costa Rica, they say it's expensive, a more expensive version of Panama. And it's also a little more dangerous from what I've understand. Mexico, I got a lot of people that like Mexico. Actually, I have friends living there now. But for me, Panama just really seems like the place to be. It has everything going for it. And no place is perfect. Scorpions here. Never seen a scorpion in my life until I moved here. And then they're in my house. But most of the times it seems like they're more afraid of me than I am of them. I'll take the dustpan and I'll, try to scoop them, and some of them get aggressive. And when they get aggressive, they get the bottom of the shoe. But the other ones, I just scoop them up in the little dustpan, take them outside and fling them and wish them the best. But it was pretty weird to see them in your house for the first time. I've never seen a scorpion in my life, and they're crawling around the curtains. That's something, you come up here in the mountains in Panama, you might have to deal with. But it's only during the dry season, it seems like they come in the house. People say they come in the house looking for water. They think it's like a big cave or something. So Boquete, being an expat community, tends to draw the older crowd. A lot of the expats you meet here are a little bit older, but a lot of them are bringing their kids now. It's starting to draw more young people. A lot of young people I see, they seem almost like they're backpacker, like just coming through and visiting. But there are a lot of people who are setting up here. There's live music down at the brewery, great place, and you'll see a younger crowd there. So, it's not like Boquete's only for older people. Now, if you want, the lively city, the hustle and bustle, the clubs and stuff, you're not gonna find it here. There's a little dance club down there, but it's not for somebody who wants that city life here. In Boquete, you go to Panama City, that's a different story. You can find all that here. But there's enough things to do here. It's such a beautiful, beautiful location. Just up here in the mountains with the perfect weather, all kinds of outdoor activities. There's a lot. Some of my Panamanian friends, they do a lot of four-wheeling. There's endless things. Hiking. If you're a hiker, come on over. You can't go wrong here. But yeah, if you want a more laid-back lifestyle, no matter your age, Boquete's probably going to check that box for you. If you want something a little wild and crazy and just a bunch of people everywhere going nuts, Boquete ain't it. I'm sure you can find it somewhere. Good luck with that. 10 years ago, that was my scene, but my goodness, the thought of it now makes me shiver. I don't want to go back to that lifestyle. But so that's another reason I'm probably so content here in Boquete, is because, I had that wild streak and that crazy stuff and living that kind of life. But for me now, just a more calm, laid back, peaceful existence is really speaking to my soul, and Boquete is speaking loudly. I own real estate back in the US, rent houses out. So about 10 years ago, things were going really well, and I discovered that I could just hire a property manager to run my business, and I could travel some. And it's super easy to live, somewhere in Europe or Asia on an American salary. I mean, in the Philippines, I couldn't spend my monthly salary if I tried. So that's how I support myself here as well. Now, if you work online or something, of course, you can live anywhere. You can come check out Boquete. I think it would be tricky to retire here, look for some kind of local work. It could be done. I meet people, but most of the people I meet, they'll run like a bed and breakfast, like my friend up the street there actually, or they work online. So that's always an option. But not impossible to come here and try to find some kind of job, but also just from my experience, with the expats that I talk to and the people I meet here, you pretty much have to have a job online rather than work in some kind of local job, unless you want to open your own business, which is very common here. So if you wanted to open your own business, you could certainly do that. Restaurant, bed and breakfast, whatever it happens to be that you want to do. So, but to come here and try to work for maybe a Panamanian or a Panamanian company, I think that might be tricky. So you don't have to have a car. The buses here, they're pretty frequent, and the taxis, I mean, if a taxi sees you, it's like blood in the water for a shark, they'll be a mile away and somebody needs a ride, and they will come scoop you up, and it's never more than $5 usually. Anywhere from $2 if you're in town, just going somewhere to town, to $5 if you need to get out of town. But, if you don't have a car here, you'll be fine. If you have a car here, you'll be finer. And if you have my car here, you'll be the finest. When I was in Peru, I took classes for Spanish for about 3 or 4 months. That was also right before the pandemic. That's where I got my base. And, I did some things like Duolingo, and there was another program called Pimsleur, which actually I did years ago, which really taught me some of the foundations. But Spanish is like the more you live down here, the more you pick up. But I probably haven't learned as much as I should have, considering I've lived here so long. I can talk pretty well and get my points across, but it's really hard to listen. I think that's with anybody with a foreign language. It's really hard. People talk so fast, especially in Latin America, it seems like. Of course, they say the same thing about us. Oh, there's English speakers. They talk so fast. But and reading is pretty easy. But Spanish it's not necessary in Boquete. I mean, I mostly speak English, the restaurants and everything. This is pretty much an expat crowd, so I'd say Boquete kind of caters to the expats, so you'll find a lot of English in the restaurants, the stores. Even if you don't, everybody's super friendly, and you can usually get your point across even with broken Spanish or English. So I don't think Spanish it is important. I think you should learn a little bit, but you're not going to come here and feel like a fish out of water if you don't speak Spanish. You're going to be fine. You can meet people. And if you wanted to, you could go out in Boquete and talk to Spanish all day with people, or you could go out and talk with English all day. It's very diverse here, which I like.